Hi, and welcome to Red Dirt Rodz. Now today we're working on our '69 Buick Skylark, and as you can see here, we've got one of the rear seat components. Now this seat is thrashed, and nobody's going to want to sit on this. So what we're going to do is replace this seat cover with a reproduction cover that we ordered from Original Parts Group. Now you will notice that the cover we're using is a different color than this seat itself, but that's because we had to replace this rear seat on our car. So first thing we're going to do is flip this over, and we're going to start removing this. Most seat upholstery is held on by Hog Rings. They still use these today, and basically what it is it's a metal staple that is pinched on with a special pair of pliers. Now these go onto the upholstery and they go around the entire perimeter of the frame, and they hog ring onto little perforations in the frame. The easiest way to get rid of them is a pair of side cutters, and all you want to do is hook onto it and give it a twist and then unhook it from the frame. It's pretty much that easy. All the hog rings are off, so it's time to remove the upholstery. Now we're going to do this carefully. Just carefully peel the edges around the foam. If you just grip it and rip it, you're going to destroy the foam, and then you're going to have a lot more work on your hands. So just carefully start to peel this back. If you need to use a pair of scissors, no problem. You're not going to reuse this seat cover. Alright. So what I like to do is get one side loose, peel it back, flip it over on top of itself. Alright, then roll it back over. And then usually they'll just pop right off. Alright, this piece folds over. When you cut those hog rings, it exposes, and flip that over, it'll expose a few more hog rings. So we're going to go ahead and bust those off real quick. Alright, there we go. Okay. Now I can pull this off, send this to the junker. As you can see here, we've got a lot of scale. So what we're going to do is take a stiff wire brush and just real carefully brush this off. Knock as much of that loose scale off as we can. Now we're going to take our rust encapsulator. It's okay if you get it on the foam. It's not going to hurt anything. Before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about the tools we're going to be using to install this cover. The main item is the hog ring. Like I said earlier, it's pretty simple. It's basically just a heavy gauge staple, but it's installed with special pliers. Now the pliers are really important because you don't want to use the cheapo pliers that you can get for a couple of bucks at your local agricultural supply or upholstery shop. Some kits come with cheapo pliers. They don't work very well. They'll get the job done, but you're gonna be hurting. You'll be blistered on your hands. These are heavy duty. They're spring loaded, and the springs either hold them closed, which means you can preload, or they hold them open, such as these 45-degree pliers we have. Now, there's two different types of hog rings. There's your upholstery hog ring, which is just like this. There's also agricultural hog rings. Those are used for hogs, pigs, and they're lighter gauge. They will work in a pinch. They're usually glued together, so you have to separate them. They'll work if you run out, but we bought this entire bucket full for about $2 at our local upholstery supply shop. The other thing you're going to want is a pick. You don't always need this, but sometimes it's handy for moving stuff around or hooking an edge and pulling it tight. The other thing is a heat gun. This is a professional heat gun. It's got 2 different heat stages. We use this a lot. If you don't have a heat gun, you can use a hairdryer. Our paint's dried. We've got our bench back on the workbench here. And here is our seat cover. And this is pretty much as it comes from Original Parts Group. And so what we're going to do is just lay this out, look at it, make sure everything's right. When we're putting this on, you always want to work from the center out. That way, if you've got any slack somewhere, it's not going to be in the middle of the seat. Now, if you're working in the summer, sometime when it's warm outside, you're going to want to sit this outside in the sun, let it get some heat in it so you can stretch it out. But if you're not, you know, like we are right now, it's 40 degrees outside. We've got the shop warm. We had this sitting in front of the heater, and we've got the heat gun just in case we need to put a little extra heat into it to get it to stretch. So first things first, we got our hog rings. And we're just going to kind of pull this over the edges. Now the rear seats are the easiest to do. A lot less stretching. I'm going to stretch this side, get it over the edge here. Alright, now we can take this and flip it up. We've got our center is lined up, everything's fitting good, so we can go ahead and start hog ringing this. So you've got this fabric flap here. You want to pull it so the vinyl is over the metal edge. You don't want to hog ring this like that, because then this is going to be exposed and you're not going to have a tight seat. So a lot of times what you can do is take your hog ring, stick it in the fabric, and peel it down. Sometimes you have to double up that fabric. And it's as simple as that. Installing a hog ring is super easy. You just take your hog ring pliers and pop the ring in. You can see where the hog rings go right here. Now there's usually a stitch line. If you hog ring above that, you're going to have a little bit more strength. So stick your ring in there. Swing the back side underneath the frame, and you're secure. Now around this corner here, we don't want to leave this loose, and there's a spot right here. So what we're going to do is pinch down the seat springs, pull that edge over, and then capture this with a hog ring. There we go. Alright, now we're on the back of the seat, and this is where we're going to get all of our tension for the cover to make it nice and tight. See how we fold this over? We're about 3 inches short here. That's where this flap comes in. We're going to take this, we're going to pull it tight, and we're going to hog ring it. It's hard to see here, but we're going to hog ring it to each one of these loops right here. And then we can pull the top side tight. So now we're going to use the heat gun to heat up the upholstery. We've got it on our high setting. If you've never done this before, don't start on the highest setting of your heat gun. It's really easy to burn the vinyl and completely ruin your seat cover. Just long sweeping motions, working the entire panel. You want to stretch as much of it at once as you can. Now it's nice if you can have somebody helping you, but if you don't, just take your time and be patient. Don't get in a rush. If it's still cold to the touch, then it's not ready. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to flip this over. Oh yeah. If you put your hand underneath, push down on that foam, and then pull back. Oh yeah. Sometimes you have to use your whole body. Getting that first hog ring is the toughest. Alright, now we've got one we can work on. Now we're going to ring down the sides. We're going to do each side, and then we'll finish up the rear trim cover. So basically, you can use heat on these as well. Just heat it up good. We've got a section here that we need to pull and wrap around. This part of the seat never gets seen because it's up against the rear side covers, the rear armrests. That doesn't mean you don't want to pull it tight, because it will wrinkle on the top side if you don't have this tight. Just going to pull that tail around here and hog ring it to that spring, and then we're going to hog ring this tight up to this spring. Sometimes the seat frames vary a little bit. There are 3 specific seat widths for the GMA body from 68 to 72. The convertibles are about 45 inches wide. The non-armrest coupes and sedans are 55 inches wide, and the built-in armrest models, which are typically your hardtop models, have a 52-inch wide rear seat. This is a 52-inch wide seat. All right, now we're going to start in the middle for the rear piece, and again, we just want to pull this tight up against itself. Pull it up to these loops. Hog ring it in. If you start from the middle and work your way out, you have the best results. I like to do 3 or 4 down one side and then come back and do 3 or 4 down the other, and then you can complete one side. You want to get the center done first. Sometimes the straight hog ring pliers won't get it, so we bring in the 45s. These are 45-degree hog ring pliers. Sometimes they work just a little bit better than the straight ones, but they're a little harder to bend, to crimp, so I only use them when I have to. And that finishes up our seat cushion. Everything is nice and tight. It's not wrinkled. It's not loose anywhere. This is going to look really good in the back of our 69 Skylark. We still need to do the upper back portion, but we're going to take care of that on our own. For now, we're good to go. This took us about an hour to do the entire thing. Nice, easy weekend project for you and your car. We'll see you next time on Red Dirt Rods.